just a step away from the insanity of Jamaica Road and Lower Road to this sudden, tranquil island of otherworldly prettiness, there's a very nice pub, the river is never far, and the wholicious Brunel Museum. This is St Mary's Rotherhithe. I'm here today with Father Mark Nicholls.
Yeah, I'm the rector. I've been here for too long. I'm just going to show a little bit of the history. Would you like to come with
Oh,
me?
yes, please, yeah.
Take you into this corner. The first date that you see up there, so this is a table of rectors and patrons. The first date that you see up there, 1282. That's the first.
It's a fair way back.
Yeah, the first recorded record of this church was 1282 in a court roll when the rector of Rotherhithe was in dispute with the abbot of Westminster about a tithe of fish. That is, who was entitled to take fees from the catching of fish.
And would that be a church court or a...
Church court,
Yes.
yes. The abbot of Westminster won that case. So that's the first recorded case. And the reason he won the case was it was thought that St Peter, in whose honour the abbey was named, would know more about fish, because he was a fisherman, than the Blessed Virgin Mary. Now, that's a remarkable court judgment in my view. Anyway,
Okay.
shows a little lack of legal expertise, but a good biblical knowledge.
It feels to me like you've got something to make up on the pregnancy side of things.
Well, let's not go into gynecology, shall we?
Okay.
This church was built in 1715, the architect John James. It replaced an earlier medieval church, where about less than 50 yards from the Thames. Before the Thames was embanked, it was like a tidal river. When the tide came in, rose very high, and the church was frequently flooded. That's a medieval church. And it's built up on a kind of mound. Underneath here is a crypt,
Okay.
where we believe there are still buried at least 2,000 people. So, take you in here. It's
There's a lot to look at.
there's a lot to look at. It's not a big church, in my view, bigger than some, but it's homely. The pillars that you see here look as though they might be made of stone, but they're not stone. They're wood and plaster, and inside
Really?
is what would have been the kind of tree trunks that would have made up a ship's masts, because this is was a shipbuilding area, an area of considerable maritime trade in the 18th century. And when the church was built, they would have used shipbuilders' skills to build it. And we'll see that in the roof space, which is above
That
here.
was my next question,
Yes,
okay.
yeah. If you look at the altar, what's called the reredos behind the altar, there are two spaces there, one space either side. In a church of this age, originally in those two kind of tablet-shaped spaces, you would have had the Ten Commandments, and at one side the Lord's Prayer, and the other side the Creed. Well, they were replaced in about 1874, I think. So those are copies of Old Masters. That's the Adoration of the Shepherds by Velázquez, and that is the Call of Samuel by Sir Joshua Reynolds, St John the Baptist.
And then we've got the
That
Virgin up there, yeah.
stained glass window is what remains of a window that would have filled the whole of that space, and that was the only bomb damage during the Second World War. They've tried to reassemble the shards of glass that remained.
Oh, yes, you can see.
Yeah, where-
It's not uneven, you can
No,
check
no,
it
no.
from side
Yeah,
to side,
yeah,
yes.
Exactly. And that's supposed to be modelled on a woman in this community. We'll move on from that to talk about these lovely chandeliers. We'll ignore the more modern lighting, shall we?
Okay. It's rather impressive, I have to say.
What, that?
Yeah.
It's a bit like a Sputnik. In years gone by, when people were making things like these chandeliers, these are 18th century chandeliers, they would have been one of the few sources of illumination for a church. And I'm going to show you now how you can light these candles, because they're a long way up, aren't they?
Yeah.
So let me just show you this.
Oh.
Now, when I do this, I think it's going to be the last thing that I ever do, Because one of these days the chain is
gonna
going to
go.
break, yes.
That seemed
So
very,
there you
very
are,
easy.
that's about the lowest it gets.
Is there a counterbalance?
We've got a
or-
lot, there's a big stone in the roof space, yeah. So with a long thing you can light it, yeah, like that.
Yes.
Would you like to put it back in its place?
Yeah, sure.
And let's see if you can do it.
Oh, it's quite heavy.
Wow, well done.
Whoa.
Marvellous.
Much heavier than I was expecting.
Whoa, that'll do, that'll
There
do,
we
that'll
go.
do. Wow, yes, yeah.
That's...
Don't let it swing too much.
Oh, okay.
It's all right, go on.
I'll let it settle.
Wow.
That's great.
Over here.
You've got some thrones. Wow. Okay.
2 chairs, both with plaques on them. This one says, this chair, made of English oak, once formed a part of Her Majesty's noble ship Temeraire, with 104 guns, built at Chatham in 1798, bore a distinguished part in the Battle of Trafalgar, 1805, broken up at Rotherhithe, 1838. England expect every man to do his duty. So it connects us with the Battle of Trafalgar, with Nelson.
So I feel quite privileged just to put my hand upon this.
Well, you can sit on one if you like.
Oh, I'm going to.
Yes, go on. I'll sit on one.
It feels... yeah.
They're not very comfortable. You wouldn't want to... I feel like a king on his throne. The Temeraire was vital in the victory at Trafalgar. Because HMS Victory, the English flagship where Nelson was, came under attack from the French fleet. The Temeraire intervened between the Victory and the French fleet, all guns blazing, and saved the day. And when it was broken up in 1838, the painter J.M.W. Turner immortalised it. If I had a £20 note now, I would show you the back of it, which shows you Turner and a depiction of the fighting Temeraire. And he used a great deal of artistic license because the Temeraire was being brought up the Thames from the sea to be broken up here, although it shows a kind of sunset. You can't have a sunset in the east. It gives mood, I suppose, to a fact that it's the end of the day for this great ship, and it's certainly one of the greatest English paintings, I think. This part is part of the original medieval building. If you look at that there, that's the way, that I think is called Cornish ragstone. This is where, above here, that's where the font is. There, you see, what do you reckon those holes were for?
Oh, is it stairs?
Stairs, yes.
Yeah.
So that's how they brought the bodies down into the crypt. There would have been doors up there that would have opened, brought the bodies down there, buried them in here. This is a burial ground here. We're walking on bodies underneath us. And in the 1840s and 50s, they would have covered all the body, they're all in coffins. In various places, you see how the weight of the rubble and the concrete on top has squashed the coffins, and how this level has actually gone down. You'll see that in here. See how it's gone down? That would have been the level. They would have been doorways, so how high the doorways are or were, I'm not quite sure. And so that says there, entrance north.
Oh, I can see that.
But there was never, as I understand it, an external entrance. There's no sign of an external entrance. So what?
How extraordinary.
Yeah. Spiral staircase. 18th century spiral staircase. Right.
This is...
Note the ship's mast here. Yeah. This is the ringing chamber.
Ooh, wow.
The flags are still there from the coronation. 8 bells, some of them date from 1747. Yeah. Well, they ring for 3 hours, and it's a pretty strenuous thing to do.
Okay.
Try and ring that bell.
I'm not going to summon...
No, you're not going to signal an invasion.
So you have to
Go on.
kind of get it... and then I
I
guess you
think
have to
you know
stop.
what you're doing.
I don't know what I'm doing. Ah.
Then you have to catch it somewhere and it'll ring. No, hold it.
Do you want to have a go?
The first, this is the heaviest bell.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, you've got a... Lovely movement. Much, yes.
Yeah.
Skill, I think.
Muscular Christianity.
Oh, gosh. One, two, three, 4, 5. Looks like 2 more at the back.
Yeah. That one there, can you see that?
Yep, I can zoom in.
1740 something, yeah.
Yes, I've got that.
This is a thing that lots of people don't see, for obvious reasons. The roof space.
This is shipbuilding.
This is shipbuilding, yes. Yeah, so when they say it's, some people write in the books that this is like the upturned hull of a ship. Well, it is.
It is, isn't it?
And these are kind of, in many respects, if you look at them, rather roughly hewn timbers.
Yes.
So the people who built the ships would also have done this kind of roof building exercise. And here, this is the vaulted ceiling, lath and plaster. You wouldn't want to put your foot on it because you go straight through.
I'm going to.
So we're going to go up to the spire now.
Oh, wow.
And we're going to get a very good view. Some people will pay a lot of money for this.
Oh, that's breathtaking. That's amazing.
Yeah. So there we have it.
Well, that's every bit of London. You can even see the eye over there.
See the London Eye?
Yeah.
You can see Westminster Cathedral. You can see all the city.
Oh, that's magnificent.
The bridges.
Canary Wharf. I mean,
Canary Wharf.
the scale of Canary Wharf.
It's enormous. There's about 15,000 people live in this parish, and it's a number that's growing. But it's only about a square mile, if that.
I mean, the maritime connection sort of goes through this church and this area.
Yeah.
Like I was going to say, like Brighton Rock, but
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
not Brighton
No, it's
Rock,
quite right.
but it goes
No,
the way through.
Yeah.
So you're a rector,
Yeah.
which I think normally means that you kind of look after more. You look after more than a single church.
No.
Oh.
A rector is usually a title of a priest in an ancient parish.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. A vicar, the vicar means in place of someone. Vicars, if this church had established a daughter church, then the person in that church would be a vicar, so in place of the rector or in place of somebody else. So, vicariously. That's where that word comes from.
Okay.
So not everybody is a vicar, although you might get called vicar.
Yes.
I say, I'm not the vicar, I'm the rector.
Well, I call you father. That seems to be the safe fallback.
Yes, that's right, yes. Yeah. Don't call me reverend, otherwise I'll see you off the property.
Okay. I don't want that.